Welcome to Ninerology, Faithful in the Trenches. I'm your host, Alan, and we are here to talk about all things 49ers and the Super Bowl. It is Super Bowl and Media Week, and it's going to be a great week of breaking down the game between the 49ers and the Chiefs, and I'm excited. The 49ers have made it to 4 NFC championships in the past 5 years. This is their second Super Bowl within 5 years. Now, the question is, can they seal the deal? Can they seal the deal? Even though they've made 4 NFC championships in 5 years, and this is their second Super Bowl appearance in 5 years, they have not brought home that 6th Lombardi trophy. And so the question is, can they seal the deal? Can Kyle Shanahan get out of his own way and bring home that Lombardi? Now, the great news for them and many 49ers that are still on the original roster from 2019 when they lost to the Chiefs, they get to face the Chiefs again, which means a lot of them have harbored this, and you have that famous George Kittle quote that he will be back and he will be back with a vengeance. Check out this clip right here.
I will be back here. I will be back here, and I will be back with a vengeance.
And you will not get the best of him. And so, super exciting. A lot of great stories going into this week. And so we're going to have a few different segments. We're going to break that down. But the very first thing we want to do is take a look back at Green Bay and Detroit. Now, both games, the Niners easily could have lost, and some might even say they deserved to lose, just specifically based on the effort. I mean, you look at, there's been several interviews with John Lynch, Steve Wilks, Kyle Shanahan on one common denominator, and that's effort. Effort. For whatever reason, this year's 49ers defense seems to lack that. Maybe it's a change of defensive coordinator with Steve Wilks in there. We know he's not the rah-rah guy that both Robert Saleh and DeMeco Ryans were. They were very much in your face. We're swarming. Every play we're swarming. That's what we're doing. Steve Wilks is more of a reserved kind of guy. That doesn't mean he's not intelligent. He's very smart. You see what he's done with our defensive backs. They've really taken their game to that next level. You look at Charvarius Ward, made his very first Pro Bowl, and what he's kind of done there. And so Steve Wilks is a different type of leader, a great one for our secondary, but for whatever reason, there is a lack of effort. And here's a few sound bites from this week specifically on that.
It starts with effort, and that being a non-negotiable. So those things have been addressed. You've got one game. I really would be shocked if we saw that again. And sometimes that comes. I mean, there's excuses for it. But they're just that. They're excuses, and that has to be non-negotiable. Play your heart out, and then we've got a lot of good players, a lot of good depth that you can get. So those aren't plays that we're proud of. Those players are proud of. It's been addressed, and I'd be real surprised if I saw it.
No, not at all. I mean, that's kind of what I was referring to on, I think, our conference call on Monday. But it's, and I know it looked bad on the clip that you guys have and stuff, but it's, it's not our culture. We don't want to have one play like that. I think we had about 2 to 3 in that game, which is too much for us. We don't want to ever have one, but it wasn't just the D-line. There was a few backside people who weren't going, and they're expecting someone else to make the tackle. And whenever you're expecting someone else to make the tackle, bad things happen.
Collectively, as a team, I can tell you that the defense is unacceptable. All right, and we talked about that. I wish I could tell these guys on play 4, on play 27, this is what's going to happen. You don't know. So we got to make sure that we play every down as if it's going to be the difference in the ball game. And you can see on those 2 particular plays, it wasn't to our standard. And those guys understand and know that. And quite honestly, it was embarrassing.
Now, as you see that breakdown, Steve Wilks says it is unacceptable, not to our standard, and he point blank says it is embarrassing. You look at John Lynch. He talked about his time with the Bucs and how there was something about effort, as an effort is a non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. It mentioned that it's been addressed, which if you look at me, you might be asking, okay, what are the plays that they're talking about? Well, one key play is the Jahmyr Gibbs toss to the outside that scored a touchdown. You see multiple defensive linemen just jogging, assuming that somebody else is going to make that tackle. In fact, you have Chase Young just jogging to the end zone, and what ends up happening is Gibbs cuts right in front of him, and if Chase Young was hustling, that would have been a tackle to stop that touchdown from happening. In fact, when you look at Shanahan's quote, this is what he says: when you expect someone else to make that tackle, bad things happen. And so, for whatever reason, hopefully they get their butts in gear, and they took care of that, hopefully, in Santa Clara during that practice week. And because this is a game you cannot afford to take plays off. In fact, you might even say that they deserve to lose last game because of the lack of effort. And so, luckily, they are in this position to where they can sort of right that wrong. And hopefully that they've got that out of their system and they are ready to show up. Hopefully they are, even though they're in Vegas, that they are focused, that they are dialed in and ready to go. Now, let's look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs and 49ers. Let's take a look at that matchup. What's really interesting is the teams, kind of the script has flipped. In 2019, the Chiefs rode that offense. If you remember, they had Tyreek Hill, you had Travis Kelce, still in his prime, still doing the things that he does, and you had Sammy Watkins as well in that offense. That offense was scary. That offense is what carried them to that Super Bowl, and the defense was sort of just along for the ride. And the 49ers rode their defense to the Super Bowl, and their offense kind of just got by. Now you take a look at 2023-2024 season, those scripts have flipped. Now it's the 49ers offense that's carrying the 49ers, and the defense that hasn't been to what we're used to. Even though you still got a lot of the big name players from your Nick Bosa, you have Chase Young, you have your Fred Warners, you still have Eric Armstead, you got Dre Greenlaw, you got in the back end, even though Hufanga's out for the year, you still have Ward, a Pro Bowler, that is there. You have Jerry Brown, who's looking good. Deommodore Lenoir, who's just tearing it up in the playoffs, but they haven't brought it all together, and so you've had the offense that's kind of carried them throughout the year. And now you have the Chiefs, where Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes, but their offense isn't what it used to be. In fact, many games they were just pedestrian throughout the season, and it's been their defense that has carried them. In fact, you look at their pass defense, they're top 4 pass defenses in the NFL. So, and that pass rush for the Chiefs is just insane. It is out of their minds. And so the question is, what are the 49ers going to do to go ahead and neutralize this Kansas City Chiefs defense? Where is the weakness? And I think when you look at it, there's not a whole lot of glaring weaknesses except for one area, and that's the run. Their pass rush is insane, but when you look at their run defense, they're ranked number 27. Number 27 run defense. Now, the hard part is not a lot of people run on them because their pass defense, once they get behind the Chiefs, guess what? You're passing to try to keep up. So the key for the 49ers in this game is run the ball. Run the ball. You have the best running back in the entire league, the best left tackle in the entire league. You have a wide back in Deebo Samuel that can run. Get exotic with those runs. Pound, pound, pound. And then when they're ready and they try to go ahead and adjust, that's when you hit them with those crossing routes. That's when you get Jawan Jennings, 3rd and Juwan, into the game. I think he's going to be a big key here. That's when you start getting Kittle in with that play action pass, going with that crossing route. Ayuk may not have a big game. The Chiefs have great corners, but he'd be great to go ahead and block downfield. Great to kind of open up those middle lanes. And I think it's going to be big on the Yak team. We're going to have to focus in on those short yardages and make something big out of it because, again, the Chiefs' pass rush and their corners are very good. So the 49ers, you got to stick to your identity. Run the ball. You traded all those picks for Christian McCaffrey. He is in his prime. Ride him like you've rode him all season long. There's several games where he was at 30 rushing or 30 touches. He needs 35 touches this game. He needs at least 35 touches. And I think if he has that, in fact, I believe it was earlier this year that we saw that the 49ers were 9-1 when he touches the ball 25 times, when he rushes it over 20 times, but touches it at least 25 times. That's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. Again, run defense, that's where you can make some waves there. And so keep that going. Go against the Chiefs' run defense. Run the ball. Now, the key for the 49ers and their defense, how do you stop Patrick Mahomes? Well, I think the key to stopping him is by stopping the Chiefs' run game. Stopping the Chiefs' run game. And I think it all starts up front. Eric Armstead, he's been battling with that foot injury kind of all year. But Isaiah Pacheco, he runs like it's going to be his last meal. Like, he's running to the kitchen and nobody's going to stop him. Like, that's the last thing. It's the last donut on the table and nobody's going to stop him. And so he just runs like he's out for a contract. Like, this is him proving himself. 49ers, he's going to be tough to stop. But where it starts is that defensive line. Now, the 49ers like running what we call the wide nine scheme, which is great when the offense needs to be in a passing situation. The problem is 49ers have not been able to stop the run, so there's not times where they need to be in that wide nine format. So my guess for this game is the 49ers are going to run a mix of five-man defensive front. You're going to get Sebastian Joseph Day along with Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Javon Hargrave, and Nick Bosa all on the line at the same time with Chase Young in there, Sprinkle in there. I think if you get those 5 guys, 6 guys on a rotation with 5 guys on the line, you put 8 men in that box, play man on man. The Chiefs wide receivers are pedestrian. Travis Kelce, you got to double team him. But their wide receivers should be able to be covered one-on-one. You should be able to cover him one-on-one with Charvarius Ward and Deommodore Lenoir. And so what we really need to do is take away Isaiah Pacheco from Patrick Mahomes and make Patrick Mahomes win this game. And I think if you get some pressure on them, their tackles, we saw they're ranked number 22 when it comes to holding penalties, which means they're not very good. Nick Bosa, Chase Young, you need to step up in this game. If you do that and you stop that run, you take Isaiah Pacheco out of this game, I think the 49ers are going to have success. And lastly, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, my man, Mr. Irrelevant. Guess what? You are extremely relevant here in this game. You are not a game manager. You are a game changer. You are a game dominator. And now this is the time when the lights are shining bright to show that. Now, you don't have to operate outside of yourself to prove that. Just do what you've been doing. Do what you've been doing. Use your legs to extend a play. Make the right reads. Let your guys do the things that they do. And trust and put the ball in the right places. And you're going to be successful. You have a lot of people that are backing you up. Stick with the system. Kyle Shanahan's going to call a great game for you. He wants this as badly as you do. Your job is don't get inside your own head, Brock. We know that you can do it. Big number 13. This is your time to shine. Stay humble. Keep grinding. Get the ball into the playmaker's hands. If you see something in the defense, audible it. Take ownership of that huddle. Take command of that thing. You are not a game manager. You are a game dominator. Play in that. Identify with that. And you guys are going to come out on top. And so that's the first week's hot take here on Ninerology, and you're going to catch us a few more times this week. It is Super Bowl week and media week, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of hot topics, players saying a few things about other players, which is what you love to see. You love to see that competitive fire. And so, again, 49ers, that quest for 6, let's take care of it this Sunday. But again, we'll catch you later this week. And that's all we got here at Ninerology and Faithful in the Trenches. Catch you next time.